It doesn't really matter what category your paintings fit into. What really matters is that you work from the place you're at the time. And when you're a younger artist, you're in a very different place to where you are when you are an older artist. The problem is with our culture, where we're rewarded for repeating a successful formula, is that, in a way you're kept in this Peter Pan state where you're eternally your one successful sort of adventure in your art, or a successful moment or a few, is then almost sort of logged into your brain as if it's the only way that you should be doing your work. And so you shut down the internal process that makes great art, which is the interaction of the artist, the environment, and the artist's emotions and opinions and everything else in creating a brand new product, like a new piece of art, not just copying yourself. Everything about what makes you successful as an artist, I mean, what does that even mean? Let's put it this way. Everything that brings you sales as an artist, whether you're recognised by the great institutions or just by the commercial galleries, what brings you those sales is a repeating formula, a recognisable style of formula. And that is actually the paradox, because it's almost like a deal with the devil. You can't get the recognition unless you're recognisable. But then the actual trap or the twist in the tail is that you then start painting to that formula because you want the success. So there's your ego kicking in, and that's fine. It's also how you pay the bills. I've done it for years and years, decades. But there comes this point where you realise that you can't grow while you're stuck serving that process. It is a very, very hard process for an artist to retain what I call their voice, which is their real self and where they are in time of his life. And the artist's creative reaction, to make things from that process. And I keep calling it alchemy, that observation, that experiencing, the feelings we have, and then the opinions all mixed around in a big pot of minestrone. And then that comes back, the best art comes back out after that process as a new expression in the world. It brings something new, something creative and powerful, because the things that have happened have gone through the human experience, and the artist is one of the few people in the world that can actually transform base material, base human experience into something new and elevated, hopefully, or even just expressed from a different angle and in the zeitgeist. So, whatever's going on in the culture and society at the time, they have to respond to that. If they don't, they're living in a time capsule, and that isn't going to be like a faithful representation of what's going on. So it's really difficult because it's not evil, it's not bad, it's not sold out to understand this tricky trap. But at some point, your soul comes for a reckoning, and hopefully you've put a bit of money away before that happens. But if it doesn't, then you've got to find a way to walk on both sides of this fence. And I believe there is a very good way of you being able to continue to sell your work and also change and work into the growth that you're having personally or spiritually. So that's actually what I'm really focused on this channel. And I do have a video coming up very shortly where I'm going to lay this out as best I can pragmatically on a whiteboard to show you in, I guess you could say, visual steps, what kind of thing you need to do as a process. Of course there's feelings involved, but sometimes when we see it logically laid out, it makes more sense. I'm Helen Norton, and if you want to see more, head to my YouTube channel, An Artist Forever, where I talk about these matters of the artist's soul, really, and how you can get back and get aligned with your actual voice and not just the marketplace.